I remember thinking like, God, I miss doing this. This was a lot of fun. Like I could see, the ability to see people's eyes light up and you can actually see like you just made an impact. Like I miss that. I don't get to do that on a webinar. I don't get to do that on a podcast. I don't get to do that on a YouTube video. But being in front of them and hearing them and seeing some of them tear up as they talk about their mission, their goals, their vision, their families, their children, man, it reminds me, it re-energizes me. It reminds me of why the heck I'm doing this.
This is The Fighting Entrepreneur, the podcast dedicated to entrepreneurs looking to change the world. Learn how to start, build, and scale a business in today's highly competitive business environment. Here's your host, The Fighting Entrepreneur, Anik Singal.
What's up, you crazy fighting entrepreneurs? Today is story time. So everybody, grab your little blankets and sit around in a circle. All right, I'm going to tell you a really cool story about my recent trip to Toronto, Canada. But first, before I do that, of course, remember, this is Anik Singal, your host at The Fighting Entrepreneur. Make sure you go to Anik Podcast. Make sure you subscribe at iTunes. Make sure you leave us reviews. Make sure you tell everyone about us. Okay, now that the self-promotion is done. Oh, wait, no, one more self-promotion. If you're on YouTube, make sure you leave a comment below, click subscribe, click the bell icon, and then again, tell everyone about us. All right. So I did something recently, and I want to do a shout out to Shahzad and Renee, who are awesome business partners now and are here, are Lurn Master students, also graduates. And they live up in Toronto, and they have a really cool community of entrepreneurs there that they teach. And so they came to me and said, Anik, we want to do an event around you on email marketing. And we want you to come up to Toronto and speak. And I said, well, I don't really speak much anymore. So let's pause right there. I want to let's go back, let's reflect back when I started. When I started, my biggest successes came from me speaking at events. I would, there were some weeks where I would travel 2 or 3 cities a week. I've had months where I was in 4 countries in 1 month. Actually, 5 countries in 1 month. It was exhausting. It was tiring, but man, it was such a springboard for my career. Not only is it, there's nothing that can replace that human element when there's hundreds of people in a room that are watching you on stage. The connection that they leave with you, it's just better than a webinar or even a podcast or a video on YouTube or anything. So I used to speak, and then at the end of my speaking, I would make an offer. I would tell the audience, like, hey, if you want to learn more from me, you want to connect with me, you want to buy my course, like, here you go back room. I'll give you a good deal. And yeah, we would do really well. Like, we'd make a ton of money from it. But it was like really taxing, right? So I did this for about 3 years. Man, I did well. I was killing it on stage. I was one of the top speakers from a conversion standpoint. So people were vying for me. They were fighting, like, come speak at our event because I would produce good revenue and I was a good speaker. People would enjoy me. It would get good feedback. I teach good stuff while selling good stuff. So it was all awesome. And I started speaking at all these events. And at these events, guess what happens? A lot of times when you're a speaker, you get to network with other speakers, because you're hanging out in the green room together, you're going to dinner together, getting drinks together, you kind of have that same credibility. So I met some of my best affiliates, my best business partners. I met them at these events. And so we'd end up establishing some joint venture relationship or something. So I started to really do a lot of online business thanks to my travel business, because I would meet all these people. So I got to a point after like 3 years of doing this where I was like, okay, you know what? My online business is taking off. I got to spend some time in the office. I got to focus on the operations. I've met everybody. I'm like 1 or 2 points of contact away from anyone in the industry. I don't need to travel to speak at these events anymore. I'm tired. I'm done. And I really did. I retired from speaking on stage. I retired from selling on stage. And I used to really enjoy it, but I also didn't, because to travel would be exhausting. So I just kind of walked away from it. And that was like 12 years ago, and I just hadn't done much. The last event I spoke at before Shahzad and Renee offered me this opportunity was at GrowthCon for Grant Cardone. That was like almost 9,000 plus people. It was one of my life dreams to speak to an audience of 5,000 or more. Check mark. That was my biggest reason for wanting to speak, and I really appreciated them having me. It was an awesome experience. But that's what it would take to get me to speak at an event. It would take like 9,000 people in an audience. So anyways, I don't know what made me say yes to these guys. I think it was just because of the connection that we had. Their mission is so similar to mine. I like them. They're Lurn Masters graduates. Toronto's not that far away. It's like a 50-minute flight. So I was like, yes, guys, I'll do it. But you know what? I don't want to speak to just anyone and everyone. I'm not going to come for a small room. I want at least 200 people in the room physically there, and I want them all to be buyers. I don't want a bunch of freebie seekers in the room. I want to come teach and I want to make a good offer to them, but I want them to be committed. I don't care what they spend, but they have to spend some money to be there. $47, $37, $97. You guys decide that. But I want 200 of them in the room. Can you commit to that? And they said, sure, we will. We'll make it happen. And man, these guys, I'll tell you, they are men of their words because they deliver. So even like a month before the event, I was not looking so strong. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to end up going there. It's going to be a waste of time. But I would obviously hold to my commitment. I committed to these two that I would do it. And so I was looking forward to it. So I get to the event. By the way, if you're wondering, right? So the title of this podcast, Joe, the title of the podcast should be How I Made $212,000 in Canada in 2 weeks. And so I hadn't said that in the beginning of this episode. So maybe that will kind of, tickle your interest. So here's what happened, right? So I show up the way the event kind of, this business model has worked in the past and still works till this day. Well, actually, before I say still works till this day, I guess I didn't really know that it still works till this day. I had lived in my own little figment world of who does events anymore? Like why do people show up at an event? I've actually been on record saying like, if you could do a webinar, why the heck would you do an event? Well, for the following reason. So I show up at this first event. It's 200 people in the room. Like literally it was like 206. All right. The energy is awesome. These are all buyers. And I'm in front of them. I'm shaking hands. I'm meeting people. I'm talking to them. I got a chance to meet a bunch of Lurn Nation members and people that know me and have been following me. And I've never spoken in Toronto, so that was cool. And then I started to teach, and I took my team with me. So I got Jeremy spoke, and Zane and Jeff spoke, and Shazad spoke, and it was just pretty awesome. It was a lot of fun. And at the end of this, I get to make this killer offer to them where I'm like, listen, if you want to build an email marketing business, you want to work with me, you want me to learn, to teach you, here's a killer offer because you're in this room, you came here, I'll give you a great offer. And I made an offer. And we had, by that point, we had 160 people in the room because the thing in Canada is it was really nice day. It was beautiful weather. And apparently in Canada during the summer of 3 months, if it's nice weather, they don't care. George Clooney could be in that room and they don't give a crap. They're out. Because they got to enjoy their time out as much as they can, because then, as they would say in Game of Thrones, winter is coming, and they will be stuck in their rooms and in their houses. And I saw that. I witnessed this. People were like, "Anik, great event. I've been really enjoying it, but I'm gonna leave now. I gotta go to the pool." I'm like, what? Seriously? I'm teaching you how to change your life. You want to go to the pool, but it is what it is, right? So we had about 160 people left in the room, and I made a good offer. I put my heart into it. I wanted to really serve these people, and some people bought a few days later, some people bought right away, but in the end, we had 33 people buy. That's pretty cool. It's really good conversion. I walked out, I was like, yeah, that was good. I still got it. I haven't done this in over a decade. I still got it. And so that was, whatever revenue. I think it was a little over 50,000, almost exactly 50,000 in revenue. And I sat back and processed that. I thought, this is interesting because I had this presentation already done. I've been teaching email marketing for, I don't know what, 11, 12 years. I swear, I think I teach it in my sleep. I probably I'm instructing it while I'm sleeping because I've just, the back of my hand, I know this stuff. I love email marketing, so I love teaching it. I had all the presentations done. I don't have to prep for it. I love speaking on stage. I never prepare. I can go speak on stage for hours without a single preparation. I feel the audience. It's a passion of mine. I enjoy it. And I like to think I'm pretty good at it. So going to Canada, I flew in the night before. I hung out, ate some great food. Toronto's got amazing restaurants. The next day, the event happened. And I show up, spoke, right? Met people, hung out. And then that night, we went to one of the best Thai restaurants I've ever been to in my life. And then I came home the next day. And in that time, we created $50,000 in revenue. I was like, that's kind of cool. Wow. Why have I not been doing more of this, right? I get to meet people, I get to create revenue, and I had fun, and I ate good food, and why haven't I done this in the last 12 years? And I couldn't really figure out why I hadn't done it. I was like, oh yeah, it's travel, I get tired or whatever, but I'm like, but that was fun. I don't have to go to 5 cities a week. Why not just do, every now and then do the good events, where I talk to people that I want to talk to. So anyways, 2 weeks later, I had to go back because anyone who bought at the event, they would get a 1-day workshop with us also in person where I would teach more detailed stuff. And just so happened to be that 2 weeks later, I had to be in Canada anyways. I had to be in Toronto for a family wedding. Congratulations to Sarika. I hope she doesn't mind me saying her name, but it was a beautiful wedding. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. So I had to be there anyway. So it's like her wedding was Saturday. So we said, well, let's just do the 1 day event Sunday, and then I'll leave on Monday. So worked out really well. So Sunday we do this event, and these 33 plus people, they show up in the room, round table. Now you got to imagine, right? Imagine how awesome this audience is. Like I get to like hang out with 33 people and just really establish that bond with them and get to know their story and who they are. And they're so excited to be there because they're actual action takers. They bought something at the event and they're just excited. Like they're just happy to be learning. So I took a couple of team members. I took Jeremy, Jeff, Zane, Dave Lovelace, and Andrew Lance from Lurn. They all showed up. And so we kind of made a thing of it. We had fun. And I spoke, I didn't even show up till lunchtime because the team is so awesome. They handled it before that. I show up at lunchtime. I spoke from like 12 to 5. And I got to tell you, people were like, oh, you must be exhausted. I was exhausted, but I was exhausted because Sarika made me dance for like 3 hours the night before. I wasn't exhausted because I spoke for 5 hours on stage. That 5 hours on stage was actually completely empowering and exhilarating and energizing. And by the way, I'm just joking. Sarika didn't make me dance. It was my wife actually. So, I had fun. Like I miss it. I remember thinking like, God, I miss doing this. This was a lot of fun. Like I could see, the ability to see people's eyes light up and you can actually see like you just made an impact. Like I miss that. I don't get to do that on a webinar. I don't get to do that on a podcast. I don't get to do that on a YouTube video. But being in front of them and hearing them and seeing some of them tear up as they talk about their mission, their goals, their vision, their families, their children, man, it re-energizes me. It reminds me of why the heck I'm doing this. Now, at the end of that event, we gave everyone there the ability to upgrade their membership level, their purchase level to the next level, which gives them access to more of our in-person training, our events, and all of that. It was like the last 40 minutes of a 7-hour day, or maybe more. We started at 9. No, 7-hour day, because we started that at like 4. So I get to serve them for 7 hours, teach them great stuff, change their lives, create massive impact. They literally said that their minds were blown by the end. By 4 o'clock, they were like, oh my God, I've learned more in 7 hours with you than I've learned in months trying on my own. And then at 4, I'm like, hey guys, like we have this opportunity if you want to upgrade. Now, the truth is, I put a hard limit. I was like 10 people because it was too good of an offer. It was like a stupid good offer. 10 people. And I didn't know what to expect, and I presented it, and I gave it my heart. Like I came from the heart. Okay, I didn't pitch, didn't sell, it just came from the heart. And 18 people signed up. It was nuts. It got to a point where I didn't know what to do. Like I literally went into it with the full expectation, like I will cap out at 10. But then we asked who's definitely in, come to the front. Well, 18 people it was actually probably about 15 that showed up, and then 3 more joined later. Well, what am I gonna do? Hey, you 5, you were the last ones to the front of the room. Get out. Like that's just me. I don't want to do that. So we made some things. We moved some things around. We made some things happen. We opened up 18 spots in the end. Whoever wanted to get in got in. Now, revenue-wise, that was in US dollars. That will equate to $162,000. Now, I just want you to understand, there's lots of expenses tied to this. Don't think that I'm going off making tons of money. Most of it, the reason I was capping it at 10 was because I don't make that much net profit. But it was a good test experiment for me. So between the first event and the second event, I ended up creating $212,000 in revenue in the span of a little over 2 weeks, with basically 2 full days committed, a little bit of travel time. But if you take that travel time and make it, like on the second one, I went up there and hung out with family. Like I made it into a little bit of a vacation. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, dang, this is cool. So what did I do right after that? I turned to my buddy John Tallarico and I'm like, yo, book me up, man. Let's do some events. I missed this. I want to do this. So I already booked an event now in New Jersey. I booked an event in Singapore. I'm probably booking another in Japan. We just announced 4 events happening at the Lurn Center. Things about to get crazy. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. Go to lurncenter.com, LURNCENTER, for all the events that are happening at the center. By the way, we will also be selling virtual tickets. If you just can't make it here physically, we'll sell virtual tickets to it too. I'm going to have some fun. We're going to do some events. All right. I'm going to teach some great stuff. And yeah, at the end of the event, I'm going to make you an offer. and some of you will buy and some of you won't, but the ones that don't, you'll have learned good stuff during the event. We'll get to connect, shake hands, hang out. I get to see your faces. I get to realize and remember that there's actual entrepreneurs at the other side of that table. And I'm excited about it. So I'm going to do a lot more of this in the next coming 2 quarters. And you know what? Again, I'm connecting it to my life. So the Singapore event is awesome because I love Singapore. I haven't been in a long time. My wife's never been. So we're going to go to Singapore, and then there's that like 10 days between the first event and the second event. Well, we're going to hit up probably Vietnam and Indonesia. Boom. Vacation. I mean, get creative, entrepreneurs. You want to build a lifestyle business, get creative. But old is gold. I want to go back into some of the business models and some of the things I was doing 10, 12, 15 years ago, because I think we've gotten so distracted with the shiny objects that we've forgotten some of the classics. So I'm excited. So that's how I made $212,000 doing old stuff in Canada for a couple weeks. A lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And I want to give a big shout out to everyone who helped with that, everyone who attended, all the students who took action. I look forward to working with you guys and helping you over the next coming months and making you into star success stories. And as I did announce at the second event, I mean it, Lurn is officially going to start scaling and expanding in Canada. 2020, we're going to take over Canada. So you guys at We the North, by the way, did you know that that's what they say up there? We the North? Yeah, they have a hashtag, We the North. Actually, maybe I did. And I asked them if that came from Game of Thrones. They say no, but I feel like it did. Yeah, so we're going to look into that, Canada. I think you stole it from Game of Thrones. I'm going to find out. But anyways, we're going to be expanding into Canada. I love Canada, by the way. It's an amazing country with amazing people. So I'm looking forward to bringing Lurn there. And the whole point of this story for you was, hey man, just because new things are there doesn't mean the old things stop working. Email was how the internet was invented. There was an email sent. That was the first invention of the internet. Guess what? Email still works. So speaking at events and doing other things. And so I want you to look at your business or look at your life. What were you doing 10 years ago that was working? What were you doing 15 years ago that was working? And I want to challenge you to try it again. Do it again. All right? anikpodcast.com. Subscribe to us at iTunes. Leave us a great review. Get your show notes at anikpodcast.com. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. Hit the little bell thingy. Leave a comment below. I read them all. I respond to many. All right? What do I always say? When life pushes you, stand straight, smile, push it the heck back. Come on, fighting entrepreneurs. Let's go out there and fight for our dreams. I'll see you on the next episode of The Fighting Entrepreneur.
Thanks for listening to The Fighting Entrepreneur with your host, Anik Singal.